Hello fellow geeks and welcome back to Running Geek Girl. My name is Heather and I am out on the trail again today. I thought that while I was out getting a little bit more trail time and some nice quiet time for myself, I thought I would fill you in on a little bit of information that I have found interesting. And I'm going to tell you about some of the differences that I have noticed and kind of mindsets that I've had to change around running when moving from road to trail. So come along with me and we'll talk. The first thing that I've had to change switching from road to trail is to slow down. And that's just out of necessity. You cannot run trails, or at least I can't, as fast as I can run on the road. The road gives me a nice flat surface, totally different energy return than the ground with all its twists and turns and rocks and roots. It's a whole different ball game, and so you're forced to be a lot more mindful about where your foot is coming down and where it's going to land. So you do have to go slower, especially on those uphills. You got to take your time and make sure that you're not wearing yourself out just trying to go up, because there's a lot more elevation change than you would typically find in most road races. So that's the first big change going from road to trails. Lesson 1A, a lot more spider webs than in road running. That's just a side tip. There's more. The second change that I've noticed is that since you are not keeping real track of your pace, then what are you keeping track of? You have to keep track of a whole new set of numbers, such as your perceived effort. I spend a lot more time checking in with myself to see exactly how much effort I am putting in. I'm taking a closer look at my heart rate to kind of help determine that. I'm looking a lot more at my elevation gain, because that also affects my calories expended, which means that I need to keep a more careful eye on what I'm putting out to make sure that I'm refueling in enough time so that I don't completely crash. So that's the second big difference, is looking at a whole new set of numbers to determine exactly what I'm doing on my run. Another big difference between road racing and trail racing is that I'm working a whole new set of muscles. There's a lot more balance involved, working parts of my legs and ankles that I normally don't get to use out on the road. I trip a lot more and have to catch myself pretty quickly, so good reflex test. So that's another big difference between road and trail. Another big change is just the gear that I bring along. I would typically not really bring anything with me on a road race other than perhaps some gels in my pocket for refueling purposes, but I don't typically carry hydration because I plan my route so that I will go past a place where I can hydrate. Can't really do that on the trail. You kind of have to bring a handheld with you, or perhaps a bladder pack with you, which is another thing that I typically would not carry with me. I have my emergency kit here with some extra fuel just in case, a first aid kit, and so on. So definitely the gear is different. Even the shoes are different. You don't necessarily have to get trail shoes to start off with, but if it's something that you're going to keep going with, it is something that you need to invest in. So another big difference is just the overall gear that you need to get by. Finally, one of the biggest changes that I've had to make when switching from road to trail is letting go of fear. A lot of what kept me from starting on the trails was fear of getting lost, of getting hurt, of falling. And I have pretty much done all of those before. When you get lost, you backtrack and you try again. When you get hurt, you just assess what you need to do in order to carry on. If you fall, you get back up. I don't know what made me so scared and what still scares me every once in a while, but I'm learning to kind of go with that fear and just keep running. So we are back to the trailhead. And those are some of my thoughts about some of the differences I've noticed in switching from road running to trail running. So are you a road runner who is now a trail runner? What are some of the things that you've noticed and you've learned? If you're new here, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the running videos that I have coming out, including a trail race coming up in the next month. You can also follow me on social media. All the links are going to be down in the description. You can find me across all platforms under the name Running Geek Girl. Thank you so much for coming along with me today. I'm so glad you're here, and I can't wait to see you next time. Happy running.